And we interrupt this news broadcast to give you some weather, featuring Temp Richard. Oh yes, so hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Temp Richard, and without further ado, let's bring you to the weather. But first, since I bring you to the weather, I just want to point out that the summer exams in school, they are coming up, so I hope you do very well. And so yes, without further ado, let's go on to some notes about the weather. So climates. So we all know what climate is. Yes. Well, the difference between climate and temperature is that temperature is the heat occurring within a day. Climate is the average of temperatures taken over a long period of time, usually 40 years. Temperatures on mainland get really hot in the summer, but really cold in the winter. Temperatures on the shores, on the other hand, are usually very mild, having cooler winters and warmer, having cooler summers and warmer winters. This is because the sea insulates the land. Temperatures in higher up places are colder usually. This involves mountains. The temperature drops 1 degree Celsius for roughly every 100 meters climbed. Prevailing wind is the angle or direction that the wind comes from. Places closer to the equator are also warmer due to the sun's rays being more concentrated around that imaginary line around Africa and South America. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you know what an ecosystem is? An ecosystem is a community of plants and animals that live together. And a biome is basically just a massive ecosystem, but it is usually thousands of kilometers apart. Earthquakes. Now, have you ever seen an earthquake happen? Earthquakes are them rumbly things, I'm sure you've all heard of them. Earthquakes happen when the tectonic plates meet. The collisions can be called ridges. If two plates are moving in the same direction but at different speeds, the pressure will be released as an earthquake. Constant heat from sun's core causes particles to become hot and rise. This is because they are less dense. Some particles then become solid and form the crust. The rest simply sink, and because they are heavier and more dense, this sets up a convectional current, and thus the plates move. So think of it like a diagram with the ones that are less dense coming up to the top, but then they start to fall as they become more dense, and this cycle rapidly moves the current if you think about it that way. Now, have you ever heard of these things called volcanoes? Well, actually, who am I kidding? I'm sure you probably have. Volcanoes are openings or vents in the ground where magma from deep inside the earth forces its way to the surface. The magma may appear as flows of molten lava. Yes, lava is red, just like the sun in this picture there. It totally wasn't part of the image in the set or anything, yes. Different types of volcanoes are active volcanoes, which erupt regularly every 5 to 10 years. Dormant volcanoes, which are sleepy volcanoes, they only erupt every so often during hundreds of years. And extinct volcanoes, which won't erupt anymore or have no such volcanic activity currently in action. Now we're going to talk about lahars. Lahars are volcanic mudflows. When hot air mixes with river water or heavy rain, it can flow at great speeds as a thick, hot mixture, just like my mother's hot chocolate soup. Each time magma moves towards the surface, rock is moved as molten rock, making room for itself. The volcano budges as magmatic pressure builds beneath them. This causes landslides. Pyroclastic flows are high-density mixtures of hot, dry fragments and hot gases that move away from the vent that erupted them at high speeds. And I'm sure we've all heard of scales. Well, this is a special type of scale.
called a Richter scale, which is a scale that determines how bad an earthquake is and how it's going to be.
The higher the number, the more serious the damage. So, for example, the Gujarat earthquake from that one time, yes, it was a 7.9 on the Richter scale, and it was very devastating since it spread to thousands of kilometers across the continent of Asia, so you know. Now let's move on to globalization, yes. Globalization means the way companies and ideas and life cycles are spreading more and more easily around the world, such as being able to fly to the other side of the world in hours, or being able to phone or email someone wherever they are in the world. Oh, the powers of technology these days, yes, I'm sure you'll all agree. Such as this camera that I'm recording myself on right now. Hello, children, yes. Sweatshop. Now, you probably haven't heard of these, but a sweatshop is a term used to describe the poor working conditions associated with many factories usually found in less economically developed countries, such as Africa and India. Now, a transnational corporation are large companies that have offices and factories. They are often located around the world, such as Nike and Adidas and all those big brands. Their headquarters are usually located in very well-developed countries, such as the USA or Japan. Interdependent countries are when countries trade with each other and rely on one another. No country, after all, has everything they need to survive. Therefore, countries must trade. And as we probably don't really know and probably don't need to know, but I'll say it anyway, TNC stands for Transnational Corporations. Now then, on with the weather. Minus 50 degrees all over the world. Thank you. This has been Temp Richard signing out of the Weather Centre. Goodbye, everyone.